Hi, Vida.
Hi.
La Vida Loca. That's what I'm always going to call you.
I love
Does
that.
everyone call you that?
When I was growing up, that you brought me back to like my high school days. That was a nickname.
I
Yes.
love it. I
That
love
song was
it.
really big when I was in high school, so it was a
Yes,
total thing.
it was very relevant.
Uh-huh.
How did you get the name Vida out of curiosity?
It's such a great question. My parents just said they loved that it was an international name, and I believe at the time when I was being born in 1982, they said there was a figure skater by that name. They just thought it was so beautiful. It meant life in Spanish. And yeah, I mean, I it's as a kid,
Love
I
it.
didn't love it because, it was hard and people would mispronounce it. And I had a hard last name. So it was like the setup for
Yes.
ultimate failure as a
Yes.
kid. But when you grow older, the unique names, like you actually appreciate them.
Yeah, it's
I
so
always
pretty.
wanted to be like Sarah or something that
Right.
people wouldn't mess up. But
Same, same.
yeah,
Especially with my weird spelling, I also always had weird stuff.
totally.
But I'm mostly excited to talk to you today about eggs. Eggs.
Ah, it's a great topic.
It's a great
Not the ones we
topic.
eat.
Nope. But having to do with naming children and bringing life into the world
Yes.
somewhat. So you and your amazing business partner, Ronit, were here a little while ago. We talked about your incredible WeNatal line. And at that point, I think you had the prenatal for him and prenatal for her, and had
Correct.
just were launching the fish oil. And that's a huge success. So let's talk about how that came to be and then how the next birth of your next product came to be.
I love it. So we'll start with WeNatal's general for the new
Yes,
listeners. And thanks for having us. We're so
of
excited to be
course.
here. We basically, like most founders, found ourselves in a place of loss. Roni and I, as best friends, had miscarriages a week apart. And then basically realized and uncovered so much research after a lot of the dismissed answers we were given by doctors, which is it just happens, keep trying, et cetera, et cetera. You're old, all the fun things that you're told by physicians who are well intentioned but might not know. And once we dug into the research, we've uncovered this whole world about men's health and men's fertility and men being 50% of the equation. And what we found was that no one was talking about this. And this was such a like intuitive, obvious thing that it takes two to make a baby, but yet we quickly realized we're not alone, that, over a 1/4% of men who are and women who are going through IVF, the male partner is not even checked. And then the rates of fertility were like declining and declining. When we incepted this brand, it was 1 in 8 couples were dealing with infertility. Now, World Health Organization is saying 1 in 6, and CDC, I believe, is wavering at 1 in 5.
Yes.
So we realized we're not alone. We needed to relook at the fertility equation and really look at both partners together. And that's how WeNatal for him and her were invented, really from a place of like, we didn't find anything for men at the time. And we actually didn't think we needed another prenatal because the world was pretty saturated. And then when you pull back the covers of the labels and what's in them and what's not in them, you realize there was a lot of them overpromising and under delivering. And so that's when we worked with some of the best medical doctors and nutritionists and experts in the functional medicine space to rethink a prenatal for her and him. And so, like most founders, it started from a place of like, we didn't have it, we wish we did. And what can we do to kind of level up for the people behind us and this journey that we would want to take and, for our friends and family, et cetera. And that's how WeNatal was born. And
I
then
love
to your
it.
point about the Omega, again, it was about what we wish we had. I don't know about many of your listeners, but we found most omega fish oil supplements to be quite gross.
Yep.
You're putting them up, you smell them. Might be that you could take them when you're trying to conceive, but when you're pregnant and nauseous, probably not.
Hmm.
And we quickly learned, again, because supplements are not regulated by the FDA, that the Omega World was the same. And a lot of the times you're burping them up is because they're rancid or oxidized, and you actually should not have that experience. And so we're like, wow, there isn't much integrity in this space either. And so we worked with, found manufacturers to make cold pressed, clean, free of mercury, third party tested, and like a non gross horse pill Omega,
Right.
And so
Yes.
we're like, okay, let's reinvent that because we know how important omega is not only for like inflammation for mom and dad, but also for baby's brain health and all those things. So it was a perfect add-on to WeNatal for her and him.
Mm.
And so that was the first baby outside of the two.
Hmm.
And then I think one of the biggest myths we were told in our fertility journey, and maybe many of you have heard it, is that women are just born with the eggs they have and they're stuck with them and there's nothing you can do. We were told by so many doctors, There's nothing you could do to improve your egg quality. That was like a message that got drilled in us. And actually, the research is quite contrary. There is truth that the number of eggs we have when we're born is that number that will slowly decline over time. However, the quality is something that can dramatically be improved with the right antioxidants and supplementation. And what we didn't know is that there's a conception or the idea that, oh, my age is, if I'm 40 years old, my eggs have been aging for 40 years and they're probably so old and not good for having kids. But really, it's that 100 days before the egg matures that it's most receptive to like oxidative stress and all the things in the environment. And so during those 100 days, by taking an amazing, antioxidant supplement, you can dramatically improve your egg quality. And so that was the aha behind the newest product, was that we want to give women also optimism and hope and a booster to their prenatal that can really focus on egg quality. Whether you're freezing your eggs, whether you're going through IVF, whether you're trying to conceive naturally, it's just going to help your overall egg quality. And that's the newest baby addition to our family.
Amazing. At what point in the journey did you know you were going to do this? Because when we spoke last time, I'm trying to remember, I asked you and you were like, well, there's something brewing. And I don't know if it was this or the omega, but at what point were you like, we need to also work on an egg quality supplement?
It's a great question. I would say it was actually the things that we were doing. Ronit had worked alongside Dr. Mark Hyman and was getting the advice of a lot of amazing functional medicine practitioners. And so we were supplementing our preconception game with CoQ10, alpha lipoic acid, NAC, PQQ. And so we realized that there isn't really something on the market that makes this easy. We were trying to juggle so many capsules and so many pills. And a lot of people might ask, well, why didn't you just put the CoQ10 in the WeNatal for her? Simply because we didn't find enough researching it on pregnancy. And so while we know it's proven to boost fertility outcomes in both partners, we want to make WeNatal for her something very easy that you could take preconception, pregnancy, and postpartum. And so this was like the things that we were doing with some of the key nutrients that we wanted to help give women hope and know that there is something they can do. There is more to the story than just you're stuck with the eggs that you have.
Mm. So, how do you even go about figuring out the best things to put into an egg quality supplement?
Lots of research. I would
Hmm.
say that's where, our doctors come in and our medical experts, they like looked at the latest clinical research. They looked at clinical studies that analyze, 200 studies, meta-analysis, and looked at, the optimal dosages for preconception. And through that research, there is a little bit of like jigsaw puzzling of like what can fit in how many capsules.
Right.
And so we did our best to provide the best ingredients. And one note on that, the quality of the ingredients matters. And so you want the most bioavailable form, which WeNatal always has. And what we learned is that not all prenatals, not all ingredients are created equal. And
Hmm.
it's so important to like do your own research, be your own advocate, and look at the forms. You want good quality forms that no matter what your genetic predisposition is, you can absorb it. And that comes with the bioavailability that we put into it.
Can we break down what bioavailability is? Because I think it's thrown around a lot. What does it actually mean?
Yeah. So I'll give you the example. A lot of people talk about folate versus folic acid. Folic acid, what we hear a lot about is the synthetic form of folate. And many people don't know that if you have a genetic predisposition like MTHFR, which I have, and I know tons of people have, 40 to 50% of people with MTHFR cannot absorb folic acid. So the bioavailable form of folic acid is folate, in which 100% of people can absorb. And there's more and more research coming out about the methylated forms of ingredients and how it's so much easier for the body to take because it's in the more natural form. And so the way I look at it, it's like you want the thing that your body can absorb. Because if not, have you ever heard the myth that supplements are just expensive urine? You're just
Right.
gonna pee it out, right? I guess that's true if you're taking some of the more inexpensive ones, synthetic forms, not enough dosages to make a difference. And that's why it really goes back to like your community doing their research. Whether they take WeNatal or not, I think it's so important for them to do their research, make sure their supplements are in the right forms, And one non-negotiable should be that they're third party tested, because what we realize when we enter this space also is it's not regulated by the FDA, and so many supplements have a whole lot of not just what's in them that you have to look at, what's shouldn't be
Not.
in them, which is the
Mm,
other section. I think that was the mind-blowing part to me, was there's a whole paragraph sometimes in some of these supplements of additives, fillers, colors. I mean, things that really you don't want to be ingesting, much less when you're trying to conceive. And so, third-party testing reports will show you that the supplement facts that you're seeing is actually what you're getting, and it's void of any toxins, mercury, chemicals, that shouldn't be contaminated or in your supplement. And so that's why brands and like WeNatal, we're very transparent. Anyone could email us at any point. We'll share our third-party testing. And it's just about having a little of integrity with what you're providing.
and just to be clear, third-party testing is neutral testing. So it's
Correct.
not people that you've chosen or that anyone you work with or anyone who's providing ingredients have chosen. It's a neutral
Yeah.
group of test studiers. Is that
Exactly.
how it
We
works?
do too. So our
Mhm.
manufacturer will test in-house before it even goes there. We'll make sure that we feel good about it. And then it's a complete neutral party with zero biases to any of them. And they do their own lab analysis on the supplements. And then
Got
they
it.
send us a report. And that one has just validates everything on that label claim.
And if you get a third-party report, it's probably never happened, but where you're not happy with the numbers or something doesn't look great to you, do you reformulate and do the whole thing over again?
Yeah, I imagine we've never had that situation, but I think not I think, I know we would not serve that to our customers.
Yeah.
What I would say, if you're taking a brand that maybe doesn't, you'd be at risk of, even like what it says is might not be in there. It might not be as potent as it says. There's so many things that could happen in the process. Also, how long it sits on the shelf. That's why we manufacture in small doses to make sure optimal potency. There's just a lot to consider that Ronit and I never really envisioned ourselves being in the supplement game. We met in
Mhm.
our corporate careers at Nike, and we like loved each other and working together, but like it was really the fact that we were so ashamed of the industry and what this crucial time frame that really no one's talking about. And I know you get it, Abby, but you're really like, people kind of think they want to get pregnant and then want it done yesterday. And we find with all of our friends and family, no one's taking a beat to say, like, let's invest in our health for 3 to 6
Yeah.
months. And that's both partners, not
Right.
just the woman. And that was like our big why, like shifting these gender paradigms, knowing women are not alone in this journey. And there needs to be more education around both partners leveling up their health.
I want to just really quickly go back to the folate versus folic acid. Why were synthetic versions made in the first place?
Cost is my biggest guess. I will say that I'm a doctor or an expert, but I see now why companies do it, because the cost of producing, the ease of producing with synthetic stuff is so much easier, faster, cheaper, that it became, and then because it became so prevalent, the most research was done around folic acid. And so OB and doctors are well intentioned. That was what most of the research was done on. So most OBs will just say, oh, just pick a prenatal. As long as it has folic acid, you're fine. And the research is catching up. I will say more and more physicians, and I know a fertility doc who was recently at ASRM, just she said there's so much more coming out about nutrition and supplementation that they were not taught in school. And I think, Abby, I think what we're hearing is that it takes about, on average, about 14 years from like science to hit the doctors, because they're kind of busy and stuck in their ways and busy like in their practices. And so we're very excited that there are doctors who are keeping up with the latest and sharing it. And there is more coming out about the differences. But I think why it was there was ease of production.
Mm. And speaking of doctors, I feel like any fertility office I've been in the last year, which is clearly for networking, meeting and greeting, talking to doctors I know, not for
Yeah.
treatment, just to be clear, I see your beautiful WeNatal supplements in their lobby. I
Oh my
really, I
gosh.
really do. Now, it might be because we run within the same similar
Yeah,
like people that we love circles and that we're always
totally.
referring to. But I think I'd love to hear just from the entrepreneur's perspective, since we last spoke, even how things have changed, grown, how are things different?
Well, I love that you said that. And yes, we're so grateful to Abby, because you are one of, honestly, in the fertility world, you are such a well-respected resource and you've been a guide to us. And so for that, we're very grateful. I will say just from our strategy from day one, our influencer was the doctor, was the fertility specialist, was the OBGYN. We like pride ourselves that this supplement was grounded on the latest research. And we, from day one, we're like, we're going to meet with doctors one by one. And once you talk to them, they're amazing. They get it. They're like in.
Yeah.
And it's just about education. Like I said, they're all well intentioned. They want the best for their clients, but they're when they were in school, the research was not there. And so we've been, Ronit and I kind of like pseudo pharma reps. We're visiting doctors, we're doing lunch and learns, we're educating them. And it's been astounding what the reception has been. I think a lot of brands tend to go influencer heavy or paid partnerships, and that was never our ethos. And
Yeah.
so we are so grateful. We have now reproductive urologists, we have fertility doctors, we have top OBGYNs, nutritionists, all kinds of functional medicine practitioners who are now recommending WeNatal to their client base. And we're so, so grateful. It's literally one doctor at a time as our approach
Yeah.
and slowly growing our mission.
I love that. Marathon, not a sprint.
Totally.
I totally agree. So if I'm trying to conceive, I'm taking my prenatal, my WeNatal prenatal, and I'm also taking my egg quality supplement, and I'm also taking my omegas. Are
Correct.
they all meant to go together? And is there any point, because I still take my WeNatal prenatal and my egg quality, and then I think I just ran out of my omega 3s, but I still take them all. So what are the benefits even when you're not trying to conceive? And is there any point you need to taper off or switch things around?
I love this question. So, yes, let's break it down. We needle for her, honestly, and for him, great multis. Such a great base because our nutrients and our food system is so heavily depleted. I know many listeners know that, like our grandparents' generation, the food was much more nutritious. So, even today, if we're eating clean, organic, like good whole foods, Mediterranean diet, we're not getting the same nutrients because our soils are so depleted. And so, the analogy that a lot of doctors like to use is that eating an orange in our grandparents' generation is the equivalent of 8 oranges today. And so supplementation, and I say this to just educate, supplementation is like lowest hanging fruit is an insurance policy for your health, you, your partner, your kids, even. I have my kids on good multis. Um, so we needle for her and him are great multis for all stages of life. And honestly, the earlier you start, you build your nutrient reserves even before you're trying to conceive. And so even if you're like, I'm not ready to have kids, it's a great idea to get you and your partner on a great multi. The omega, honestly, all stages of life. It's anti-inflammation. It's so good for both mom and dad and anyone. My parents take it. So an omega always. And then the egg quality plus is so good for mitochondrial health. And so mitochondrial health is like the energy of our cells, essentially. And as we get older, it gets harder. Have you ever noticed how this is my favorite analogy? Like it's freezing cold outside and kids are just not cold. They have probably optimal mitochondrial health. And then like I'm like, it's 65 and I'm freezing. And so at any age, I would say mitochondrial support is great. The only time we would probably recommend not taking Egg Quality Plus is pregnant or postpartum because it is also a natural like detoxing system, and you don't want to be detoxing if you're breastfeeding or if you're pregnant. But outside of that, it's been proven to be robust for fertility. And like, I'm definitely not trying to conceive. I'm taking Egg Quality Plus. My mom takes it, and it's just a great mitochondrial support, which everybody needs a bit of.
I love that. Okay, and you take two of those a day, right?
3.
I think I've
Okay,
been
so
doing it
here's how
wrong.
I break it down. Ronit
Okay.
can do 10 pills a day, and
Right.
I like look at her. And I was one of the reasons I like fought because when we were pregnant, we were taking good quality supplements, but it was like 8, 10 capsules.
Right.
And then we were supplementing with like iron and folate and like all these things. And I'm like, this is not conducive. I can barely nurse 1 or 2 per meal. So for we know for her, we recommend taking that before 2 p.m. So breakfast and lunch, I break it up. It's 3 a day. Omega any time of day. So I'll do one of those with breakfast, one of those with dinner, and egg quality also could be anyone. The reason we needle for her specifically should be first half of the day is it has B vitamins, which elicit energy and give you energy, and we don't want to disrupt your sleep. But outside of that, I kind of organize my little pill containers and I'll
AM,
do
PM.
1 or 2 we needle for her in the morning with an omega with an egg quality, and I'll take one egg quality per meal. So you could do that one and omega at night and it won't affect you at all. And then lunchtime will be one of each, one WeNatal for her, one omega and one egg quality. And at night will just be omega and egg quality.
Okay.
Well, the ones for your listeners, if you're taking anything at night, you just want to make sure it's not something that could like ruin your sleep or give you energy.
And I'm like Ronit. I take like everything I need to take at once unless I can't. I know.
Yeah, if you can
But
do
I
it,
need
more
like
power to
sometimes
you.
multiple, swigs, but I like to just get it done. So I think about like, for example, I've started taking a magnesium supplement at night that has been incredible for my sleep.
Yes.
Am I overdoing it? Is there, because is there magnesium in the prenatal? And like, I think about my son who's 6 takes a magnesium pill in the mornings, but he claims he has headaches. Not that I don't believe him. This is a story for another time. But the doctor was like, start him on magnesium and they might help. And so he takes that in the morning. And then I'm like, oh God, is that going to make him tired or no? Because it's a different form of magnesium.
So there are multiple different forms of magnesium. That's true. And this is probably a better suited doctor question, not gonna lie.
Yes.
I will say I don't think it's too much.
Okay.
We just came out with a 4 form magnesium and we call it rest and digest because it's really good for that wind down at the end of the night. And
Wait,
it
you
helps.
just came out with this?
It's gonna be you'll find out about it's gonna be your new affiliate offer, and
My
we're so
gosh.
excited. It's literally just coming out. But because we do have a little bit in WeNatal for her, but because we found that one of the biggest pain points in our consumer's life is sleep and is
Yeah.
digestion, especially, throughout the conception time frame.
Yeah.
And so I will also say, like, obviously consult your doctor, but there's so much that supplements have proven to help us with, and everyone's so unique in their ability to absorb and what they need and what they're lacking in their, biochemistry and their
Yeah.
body. And so I truly believe in the power of supplementation. And I came from a mom who literally truly believed that you should only get your nutrients from food.
Mm.
And once you start uncovering the research, it's so powerful. So even with anything you take, you should always make sure it's not, counteracting any medicine you're taking or any food and how to take it best. I prefer taking supplements with food for maximum absorption. And for me, especially ones that are more potent and pure, um, after food. So you're
Hmm.
not like feeling the
Yes.
potency.
Which I do too.
And
Yeah.
it's so important, but I'm a true believer in magnesium. And I think if it benefits you and you can feel the difference, um, and especially for your son, I'm all
Yeah.
for
Um, can you talk, you might not know, and that's great, fine, totally wonderful, but why do we absorb more when we take supplements with food?
I'm guessing that it's the absorption, like it's actually mixing in with the food and it's like basically like nutrient infused food. I think when you take it on empty stomach, a lot of things, a lot of supplements or a lot of ingredients, I should say, are better when it's with a fat or an oil or it like basically goes in and digests the way it needs to. And without that carrier, listen, again, Roni could take them on empty stomach, have no side effects. And so everyone is so, I've realized, individual in how many they take and how they take it. But most of our medical board nutritionists just recommend that it's not only easier on the stomach, but it absorbs better. So I'm guessing that's the latest research sharing that.
Amazing. Um, Switching gears about you personally, this is probably going to be the first episode of 2025 that comes out.
Oh, honored.
I think, we're always looking on the like, what do we start fresh with in the new year? And I think WeNeedle is a great place for people to start. What is something you're looking forward to in 2025?
I feel like as a busy mom and a co-founder, you forget sometimes the principles that you're living. So like we live in a wellness world. We live in like we should take care of ourselves. And I think Ronit and I have vowed that 2025, we're going to just do a better job of that, prioritize the walking meetings, prioritize, the workouts that we know sometimes take a hit when you have too much work that like goes out the window.
Yeah.
We bought at a biohacking conference, saunas we both did. And I'm like embarrassed to say it's been collecting dust most of the year. So we vowed to like go in that more. I think there's such low hanging fruit to feeling better and performing at your best. And sometimes we sweep that under the rug because we just need to go, 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 go. But I think we're going to take a step back and make sure we're practicing what we preach,
Mm.
living those self-care and growing our community. We have a lot of excitement of like more resources, more education for our community, and really like we're open to any DM, any email. We want to help anyone, subscriber or not. Business aside, we made this product to help. And so if there's anything in our personal stories of loss and now, we've overcome that we can be a voice for anyone behind us, we're so happy to chat with you. We answer everything. But I'm most excited about like finding this right balance for myself. I've always been a workaholic, if I'm honest, and I need to find my way around
Yeah.
doing the best of both worlds. And it's hard when you love what you do. And that sounds
Yeah.
cheesy, but like you're like, every night when I put the kids to sleep, the first thing I do is open the laptop. And after
Same.
a while, you're like, this is not good. I need
Right.
to take a step back.
Yeah.
So for me, it's a rededication to health and wellness, even though I
Okay.
like live and breathe that every day.
Right. But for yourself, it's very different.
Yeah.
Well, you probably know this from last time, but when I wrap up, I like to ask people like a saying, a phrase, a piece of advice, something that you think about or say often.
Ugh. I lately have been leaning into having trust and certainty in everything I do. Um, and I typically a little bit of an anxious person, like to control, and I'm trying to take a step back and just like I have certainty that everything happens the way it's supposed to, that it happens for a reason. And like sometimes that just takes the fear and the guilt and the stress off of your everyday operations. And I was running a lot on that, and that was not serving me. And so the certainty piece for me has been huge. And I will also say, I have been really working on my gratitude. And like some days it's like the cup of coffee, some days it's that the sun is out. And sometimes the hardest one in our journal, which I did not mention yet, but WeNatal has a journal because of how increasingly stressful this world is, not even in fertility, but just in general. And so we created the resource also as something we wish we had, but also to instill a couple minute a day of gratitude. And within the prompts, there's one prompt that's one loving thought for myself. And I know that sounds silly, but sometimes that was like the hardest prompt for me when I didn't think I, was enough or doing it all. And so, but you quickly realize that gratitude is a muscle. And the more you practice, the more you're like actually grateful and you're not, so hard on yourself and you're not so worried about the outcomes. You're just grateful for what is. And
Mm,
so I think that goes back to self-care, but I'm really working on journaling and not, neglecting myself in this process. And
I
it's
love
exciting.
that. So when I was getting certified as a life coach, one of my teachers was like, you can't do gratitude. You
Yeah,
have to just be in gratitude.
I
And
love that.
that was like the perfect reframe that I had never, it finally made sense to me in that way. And that's what I'm hearing you say.
I love exactly. You
Yeah.
quoted me better than I could quote myself.
It was
You
my
have to
teacher.
believe it. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's faking it till you make it. But once you start doing it, you actually like, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for what I have and not like worrying too much about the past or the future, which sometimes gets in our head.
Right. Right. Actually, you're reminding me too, I have an extra WeNatal journal. So I think when this comes out, I'm going to do a giveaway of it.
We would
Give it to
love that.
somebody. Yeah, we'll do it. We'll talk about it.
Love
It's always
it.
amazing to chat with you. Thank
Me
you for being
too.
here.
Thank you for having me. And we're always here for you, Abby, and your community. And we love you. And literally anything we can do to support anyone. Maybe we can do a whole kit giveaway and support someone in
Oh,
January on their journey. But we're here for you guys. And so much of this brand was like our life's mission. And so anything we can do to support you guys, we are here for you.
and that's why we love you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I'll see you soon.